Welcome to the Fifth Trooper Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Fifth Trooper Podcast. My name is Jay Shalansky and my co-host is Evan Boulders.
Hey, how's it going?
We are very lucky. We're back in the studio. New York is in phase, as Evan said, 1.5 earlier. So we can be together again.
We are under 10 people in a gathering.
Yeah. I'm no Joe Rogan, so I can't test him on his way in. I wish I could, but
even if we had a $100 recording deal with Spotify, that'd be pretty okay.
But where we're located, very low as far as the COVID goes, and also as far as the other nonsense that's going on in the U.S. right now. Yeah. So everything crazy, we're on the low end of it where we are. So we're here. So a couple things. It's just Evan and I today. We don't have a guest, so we're going to kind of revamp and give our unfiltered thoughts on the last 3 episodes and what we learned now that we don't have the developers hanging over our heads. We can be honest. So let's do a little housekeeping. If you guys haven't been to our website, thefifthtrooper.com, we have tons of cool custom stuff that we're selling right now. We have 6x4 mats. We have a lot of Star Wars Legion custom stuff, but we're actually going to be building that out. We got more custom stuff for other games coming up that I'm working on right now. We're actually going to have a full retail store soon too, where we're going to be selling products, hopefully products that we've been talking about, right? So you can hear us talk about something like Bolt Action or Conflict 47, and then hopefully we'll have it on our store so you can try it and see if you're interested. If you are interested, in particular, we're going to start doing Warlord games here soon. So if you're a Warlord games fan, if there's stuff that you want to get and you want to buy from us, send us an email, contact@thefifthtrooper.com, and we'll try to get it up on the store.
Yeah, so we're hoping to get, we're making C-mats. Down the road. We're still prototyping them more or less.
We're close to pre-orders for sure.
So we're all their C games, like they have Black Sails, they have Cruel Seas, Victory at Sea. Yeah. And so once we get more familiar with like what mat sizes we like, we can do those. Also works with like Oak and Iron. But so we're trying to we want to make C mats because we think it's cool and we don't see many out there, right?
Yeah.
But we also want to make sure the games are fun.
Yes.
So that's worth doing.
We have 8 new designs coming out in 3x3 format. 4 are going to be space for the X-Wing or the other space-based 3x3 games. 4 are going to be water-based, ocean. And really, I think you could use them for Oak and Iron, which we've talked about. Yep. You could use them for what you were just saying from Warlord Games. But also, we were even thinking like some of the water ones for Legion, for example, you could build a Camino.
That was actually a really cool idea. I think Endless brought it up, and he's like, well, you could just put like building trains on it and then make Camino. Yeah, I guess you could. Like, I didn't, that's a good idea.
Yeah, so we're going to expand there. So if you are an X-Wing fan or Oak and Iron, and you're looking for some good mats, probably within the next couple weeks, we will have those up for pre-order. So that's pretty cool. Also, we don't talk about it much, but I thought I'd bring it up. So we have a Patreon. We have multiple different reward levels. And generally what we do is we're doing laser cut tokens now. And so generally what we do is we usually give away, whether it's alt art or like unique kind of giveaways, like we're doing Surge tokens for Legion that are actually Surge Cola tokens this June, for this quarter. But we also open up, so we have a bunch of Legion tiers because a lot of our listeners, we all started in Legion, and that's where the podcast was before. But we're also opening up a couple tiers of just general gaming tokens too. So, I think, and you're probably asking yourself, well, how are you going to decide? Well, I think a lot of games have wound tokens, so that's a good one.
Yeah, like general things you can use for anything, right?
A lot of games have victory tokens, so there's another one. I think there's a lot of things you can do that are,
I know AEG, they used to do, I think they still do, they used to do what's called the Black Box every Black Friday, and it would come with like 4 or 5 games in this box, like little card games or whatever. It would also come with generic tokens. Yeah. And I never understood the need, because I played board games, but I wasn't really into them at the time when I was buying those, until like you just run to like, you just need counters. Yeah. And you just want to use like, when, the card game that's every deck you buy is original that we played for a while, and then we kind of stopped.
Keyforge?
Yeah, Keyforge, man. Wow, that took me. Everyone was buying Pokemon Energy to use for keys, right? Like, it's cool to have different tokens to do different things with. Wow, I can't believe Keyforge blocked out so hard. I mean,
dude, I get it, because that game sucks. No, I'm just kidding. We loved that game, but I think what happened, when we talked about it early on, what happened to the game is exactly what we expected to happen. It just kind of dried up, because it's like, all right, so I got to spend $10 to buy a new deck like every time I want to like get better at this game. Like, that seems crazy.
The pre-made, coming with what you own scene is not what I like about the game.
Yeah.
I like the just buy a pack, get in the tournament, and play with what you got. That's still my favorite.
So, we did that at PAX Unplugged.
Yeah, PAX Unplugged. That was a blast.
That was 2 years ago?
I think so. Yeah, it
2
was
years. 2 years ago, PAX Unplugged. We were a fledgling Legion podcast at the time, and we went and we played a bunch of pods where Keyforge just come out. Mm-hmm. You paid, what was it, $10, $11? Yeah. You got the deck, you got in the pod, and if you won, you got a bunch of tokens. Like, that to me was what made that game fun. Yeah. Like what you're saying. Yeah. Not this. And then when I came home, I was like, I want to play more Keyforge. Yeah. And I kept dumping money into this. I'm like, this deck sucks. This deck sucks. Like, I couldn't get any good decks. And then it turned out like 2 of the decks that I bought when we were playing those pods were the best decks I've ever had. And I was just like, all right, well, so I think for me, a game like that in the competitive scene is successful with those pods, not with like...
Yeah, I mean, I get liking it. I just, I bought one and I opened up and it had 2 time travelers in it. In the original, I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to touch this card. Like, I'm going to sell this. I never did. Like, I'm just like, this is going to be worth some money.
Well, I mean, yeah, I remember right before the second set came out, 4 Horsemen was a big deal, right?
Oh, yeah, yep. And somebody had 2 4 Horsemen.
Yeah, and then the second set came out, and I remember one of the stores was locally was like, hey, we got a box of the old set to, I think it was Jeremy and I, and they were like, hey, we'll sell it to you for like, I think it was like 30 or 40% off. So we bought the box, and then each of us got like 4 Horsemen deck, and I was like, geez. Wait a second.
Yeah.
This isn't as good as I thought it was. But yeah. So let's travel back in time. So about 3 weeks ago, we did Oak and Iron with Mike Tunez from Firelock Games. We have played a bunch of games since.
Yep.
I've played. When I say a bunch of games, I've played one. You've played a bunch, right? Yep. What do you think of the game?
So I'll do first impressions and then afterthoughts. First impressions, really good. Like, it's fun. It's quick. The buy-in's low for a miniature game. Reminds me of X-Wing, except more accessible, just because you don't need to buy as much. The box comes with a ton of terrain, the mats, pretty much everything you need. The dice system works well. It seems overall pretty balanced. I haven't found, our buddy Bushman's really trying to dig in to find like the best. Flutes seem to be the hot thing right now, but overall, I like it a lot because it gets me that X-Wing fix, but it's just like more chill. Yeah, if that makes sense. Like, there's a lot less like new players. If you make a mistake, it's probably not as punishing, because in X-Wing, if you don't know what you're doing and then you made a move and you fell into my kill box and your ship just evaporates, like, that can feel bad. When this, like, it's probably not gonna happen like that.
I felt like so my game, the one game I played on TTS. Mike and team over at Firelock, they actually built their own TTS mod. Cool. So it's all their stuff, which is great. And it's free. I played against David. He is on our Legion podcast, which is the Notorious Scoundrels. So if you're new to us and you like Legion, we do have a Legion exclusive podcast called the Notorious Scoundrels. So David's one of the co-hosts there, but he and I played, and he had already played a few games. He's in there. They have a league going on that Firelock put on and is supporting.
Super cool.
Yeah. And he's been playing in that league. So it was my first game. It was his 3rd or 4th at that time. And I felt like I had no idea what you came on. You kind of started getting us going so that we could learn how to play. And like, it was funny because I had no idea what I was doing. I just picked some stuff. I was like, oh, these big ships look good. I'll play them. And I played Spanish, and I was doing really well for barely understanding. So I feel like it's a game that, if you've played games before, like X-Wing or
like small adventure games,
or any miniature games, like it's easy. Like you're gonna pick it up.
Now, my gripes or nitpicks would be, rulebook can be hard to figure out where specific things are.
Okay.
I wish I had a glossary. In the back for keywords, because keywords are at the beginning of each chapter. But sometimes it just the way I guess I think or Bush we're both trying to go through the rulebook to figure out where we're supposed to be, what's going on. There's a couple things that feel a little bit fiddlier than I want them to be. A couple rule interactions. They can be kind of confusing. Like overall, I do like the game. And it's rules, and things change, man. It's easy to change rules.
Yeah, so we obviously have our own Discord that we all talk as a company in, and Bushman has brought this up a few times, and I think part of it is we're coming at it from a tried, tested, completely full OP game like Legion and X-Wing, right? That have been Legion not so long, but X-Wing for a while. And we're coming at it from this okay, well, what's the rule? Where's the FAQ? Where's the and what I think the understanding has to be is, all right, they're a little bit new to this.
No, yeah, I mean,
it sounds like they're taking in, we're part of their Facebook groups and stuff, and Mike is always on there interacting. So it sounds like they're going to take all that feedback in and update the rules.
That's actually that's a good point. That it's super cool that he interacts with the group, and he when there's rules questions, he'll jump in. And he's even come across some stuff. He's like, what? It's like, what do you mean this happened like that? And
there was one where he's like, I don't understand how that happened. And well, I was going this way, they were going this way, and almost like Top Gun.
It doesn't ruin the experience for me, but that's just like a guy if I had one piece of advice, would be rule book could use a little maybe streamlining a glossary even, or a good a bunch in the back of FAQ, what happens if this and this happens kind of thing. So you can just do that, but that's just more or less because the game hasn't been even out. It didn't even get to be out because the coronavirus hit before it came out.
And I think people are still just getting their Kickstarter, right? So
it's so it's an early gripe, and every game I've ever played has never the rulebook has changed drastically over the course of playing it. So I'm not I'm not holding it against it, but that's just my initial you might have the same issue.
I mean, I think they could benefit from a living document similar to the Legion rules reference that's just online, and they update it every couple months. And out of all the things I don't like that FFG does, that's one of the things I've always liked about Legion is they just have a living document. And then the only thing, and then they have the FAQ, but that always seems weirdly separate, and I think they need to learn how to combine those two things. But for Firelock, if there's any advice I would give as far as this, and I think they have a good base for moving this into an OP structure so that they can go to tournaments and start tournament structure for all these big events, is create a living document that updates the rules, right?
I think Legion 1 updates every 6 months or something.
Well, and they have the starter rule book, which is what Firelock has for Oak and Iron. Great. Yeah. Okay. But then have an online PDF only living document that you update every couple months when you find out new stuff, right?
Yeah. I think that'd be my only I've played a lot of the core set. Yeah. I haven't grabbed any of the ships of the line yet. Mostly
I have some. We can play after this.
Also true. Mostly because they're just the game came out immediately, so it's and I didn't know about it, honestly, so I didn't do the Kickstarter. I didn't, so once I get my hands on those, I'll have a better idea of what a big game is. But honestly, the little small skirmish games, they're fun, man.
So outside of the game, from a business perspective, I think this will be something we can do for everyone we talk to. We'll talk about the game structure and then the business structure. Yeah. So from a business structure, I have found they're very responsive. Their shipping is really good and fast. We have ordered a number of their core sets for, we had a giveaway, plus we had Dustin, our guy. So we have a guy that paints for us. So you can check on our YouTube channel. We're going to do how to paints for some of the games that we talk about. But I sent Dustin a core set. Their shipping has been phenomenal. Turnaround fast, gets where it needs to get. So that has been great. Yeah. I found even during we interviewed them and started ordering stuff from them during coronavirus, no interruptions. That's been wonderful.
Yeah, it's been really good.
And so from a business perspective, I've really liked interacting with them. Not as a podcaster, but as just a consumer.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's been great. It sounded like when we interviewed Mike, and even after the interview, kind of talking to him, sounds like they know what they're doing as far as the business is going. They're very encouraging from that perspective.
Yeah, eventually we're gonna have to get into Blood and Plunder, their other, their miniature scale game. Yeah. And so I'll be excited to see, like, we kept looking at the 2-player starter after he got off, like, oh man, maybe we get, and then we're like, well, we could play the miniature game, and then when they're out to sea, we could play Oak and Iron, and we could have a sea battle. Like, it was just, I'm like, oh, okay, we gotta.
It's funny because the same thing kind of happened with Warlord games, which we can transition to in a second, but me personally, I just don't care about historically accurate anything. Like, I just don't. I love the History Channel and I love learning about stuff, but like, I don't want to play a game that's historic. Like, I just don't care.
No, that's fair. I love old History Channel. I don't really care about how many aliens built the pyramids right now.
So like, that was my only kind of hesitation, and even a little bit with like I said, I've played one game. I've been active in the groups and like listening and chatting with people, but like, I think I just don't care enough if what way flags are going on the ships. Like, I just don't care. Like, I just want to play I'm more in it for the game, right?
It's funny because I enjoy so. It's funny when we're talking about it and he's talking like, yeah, we tried to keep how this works very accurate. And we're like, yeah, like Sea of Thieves. He's like, no, nothing like Sea of Thieves. He's like, yeah, you get in your ship, you ram them, and you jump. He's like, no, stop that. We're like, and so like, it's funny that, but that's what's really cool about the game is you can take it just as like hey, I want to just have fun pirate time, or you can dig into it and be like, oh, this is the Spanish Sixth Fleet. This, they have this guy as their captain. He really existed. Like, you can get as much out of it as you want to. In that kind of aspect of like historically accurate. Same thing like Warlord, like you can play Blood Red Skies, which is just like World War II dogfighting, just as a dogfight game, and like cool. Or you can be like, this is my 56th Airborne, Hellcat squadron fled by this pilot, and you could do that, and it doesn't detract from the other guy. It only enhances like, oh, who, like you can create cool conversations like, oh, who was that? Oh, this guy shot down this many enemy pilots. Like, you can do cool stuff with it. So it's okay that you don't, like you want to play the game and just have fun with it. Yeah. But I feel like if you do, there's just more content for you that you can kind of
for sure,
and kind of root around in.
Well, and I think it gets that niche, right? Like, it's so like, hey, and Star Wars does this, right? So this is why FFG,
my historically accurate Star Wars games.
This is why FFG is successful with all their Star Wars branded IP is because you can take a guy who's 60 years old, who's never played a board game in his life, and you'd be like, it's Star Wars. And he's like, sold, right? Like, hard sell. Like, I'm in. And I think the same thing happens. Like, there's a ton of people who are very interested and love, anything about World War II or Korea or, or any of these major wars, love, tanks and knowing about tanks and
Shredheads.
Right. Yeah. And you can get somebody who's never played a board game in their life, and then you're like, here you go, here's bolt action. They're like, yep, I'm in, right? And so that's the good part of it. But someone like me,
that's fine.
I'm just more of a and so now transitioning Warlord Games, when we were talking to John from Warlord Games, like, as I was doing the research for them, you brought them up to me. I had heard you talk about bolt action. I've never really gotten into them before, but I was like looking at Conflict 47, which is like Command and Conquer Red Alert, if anybody knows that old game, and I was just like, oh my god, this is what I want to play.
Get,
like werewolves and zombies and like mechs, and I'm like, oh my god.
So Conflict is World War II based, so any of the bolt action figures work in Conflict.
Yeah.
But also there's like the Germans get like werewolves and vampire kind of creatures, and the Americans get Tesla tanks and mecha kind of things, and Germans get like werebears, and like it's it's interesting because you can take, what I like about that system is you can take all the normal troops out and play bolt action, just have like a bolt action 2.0, have a World War II, goes quick about the same time as Legion, or you can put it into Conflict, and you're actually getting, and John had mentioned one other game you can use, like so you buy one squad of American Marines and they can work in 3 games.
Yeah.
So you don't have to buy like, it's almost like Kill Team and 40K, where like it's kind of nice if you have some painted Marines. You go, they could go here, or I get 2 games out of this. So the fact that you can get so much, and like a thing of Marines is like $40 for like 32 miniatures or something. So you get quite a bit of run out of that.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? I think from what it sounded like, they're just a bunch of old Games Workshop dudes that, you know, weren't happy with how that stuff was happening or whatever, and they went over to create their own game, right?
That's cool.
And so we haven't played. Now Evan's talked about Bolt Action before. We talked about playing it. You know, we haven't played any of the games yet. We're working on getting some in stock.
Yeah, you and I haven't. No.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And so, you know, we're going to work on getting those in and play those. But, you know, like I said, we're going to start reselling some of their stuff. They got a good reseller program. And so business-wise, dealing with them has been fantastic. Very responsive, very open to, you know, telling you about the product. John sounded like an amazing dude. You've had really good experiences with
John
him.
at every event.
Yeah.
And I see a lot of reps at a lot of events, and normally I spend most, like at Nova, you got time to kind of walk around, talk to people in Gen Con, and you see the same people, the same places.
Right.
And I'm always surprised that he remembers me. Because I'm just like, to me, I'm just like another guy, you know, who shows up and was like, oh, I like World War II stuff.
Yeah.
Can you know, but John's a super cool guy. If you ever meet him, say hi to him. But yeah, he, man, like, you know, we showed up to the conflict. I met John. I said the story already, but just to water it down a little bit, I met him 3 years ago at Nova, and I bought and painted, well, half painted, I couldn't get it done in time, a K-47 army to play in the Nova event. And I'm like, so I ran to him like sweating. I'm like, I didn't get it all done. Can I still play, sir? And he's like, cool, man, whatever. Just. And so it was like me and 3 other guys, only people signed up for it. And that was the best event I've ever been to, because we all bought a pizza, and so we're eating pizza. We're at Nova, you can discreetly drink, and so we're drinking and playing Conflict 47 for like 6 hours, and like it was like the chillest day because no one really cared, because like there was like the best. So it was funny because there was 3 of us, and there's one was he had a team of British, but they were Australian themed, so they're all Aussie. So he had a whole Aussie army. A guy had a German army like werewolves, and I just had whatever I bought, my British stuff. So each of them won like best Allied, best access, and I got best like sport for coming in. So and so how what I didn't understand in the game is it plays very similar to Legion, where there's activations, like you build how many activations you have and you put those dice in the bag. And I'm used to Legion, so I brought like 11. I'm like, oh wow, like 10 or 11. Like, this is fine. Yeah, that's a lot for Legion. And one guy brings 16, one guy brings 18 activations, and you dump all of your dice in a bag and you shake them up and you pull out a die, and if it's yours, you get to take an action. So I'm like, oh my god, I'm never gonna get turned. But what happened was, unfortunately, mine like shifted all the top, so I pulled all of mine out, and so all of my guys went before they did, and so then I just got chewed apart, and they're like, and it was, you know, I was like, it was like Platoon, you know, just like watching my guys get ripped apart. But like I had a good time because I didn't care. Like I knew I wasn't going there I was just having fun, and but that was like one of the best events I've ever been to because it was just so chill. Like I miss war games like that where it's just kind of whatever. Yeah,
it's interesting. So we talked to John, and then behind the scenes I've talked to a number of other people over there. They're all super enthusiastic about the games and about the community, and so that was kind of my whole thing that I got from them, was that like the enthusiasm seems to run through all levels of their company. Yeah, which is really cool to see.
It's refreshing. Yeah. Right, like hey, they actually they enjoy it. Yeah, you know, and that's you run to like a lot of like take any big video game company, and like sure some people do, but you always get the feeling that like they don't, right? Like, it's a job and they're just putting out a product. But when you get these guys like care about it because it's how they make their living, right? And so it's always refreshing to get like that energy back, because like I really like it. I wouldn't have bought it if I didn't. Yeah, right? Same like, so when I go like, and it's always fun to hit that other like you can tell when reps. Again, I've been to a lot of shows, so you go to a rep and you can tell they're hired. They don't work for them. They hired a company to rep the game. They got a rundown on how to play it, so they'll do a demo for you, and that's all they can really. Hey, man, I get it. Like I 100% get it. But when you meet someone like John, or you meet the guys from Anvil 8, who we'll talk to next, like Brian and Aaron, like it's them. Like that's them, right? And anytime you talk to them, you really feel the excitement. Like they throw that energy back at you about how much they like it, right? And that's cool. And where sometimes those reps that they hire, they're just kind of like, here's your demo, keep going, you know, right? Yeah, like you feel it, right? It was really interesting. So like Warlord's a bigger company comparatively to like Anvil or Firelock Games, and I talked to a couple of their reps,
And like half of our conversation, like, okay, like I expect the sales guy pitch, right? Like, oh, come buy our stuff. But half of the conversation, we were talking about the podcast, but then we were talking about like Conflict 47. And he's like, oh man, let me tell you, I got this one guy and I painted him like this. And then I played him like this and we were doing this. And then we talked for like an hour about something completely not like just about the game in general and playing. And then I met this guy and he was super cool. Like, so I just enjoyed every interaction I've had with them has been fantastic.
Yeah.
So
it's Warlord's a company that I didn't know about when I started getting into miniatures, because I knew FFG just because I had X-Wing,
right,
and I liked Star Wars, so that's why I got in. And then I went to one of our local shops at 40K, and we do a 40K podcast called CZ Initiative on our channel.
Mm-hmm.
My friend Bailey mostly runs it. He's very competitive, but actually the one coming up, we've got TJ, who's a big. Anyway, it's interesting to hear the high level guys play. But so we got into 40K, and that's where I met a lot of people. And so I started getting into it, and I was like, this was fine. Like, I like it. I wasn't attached to Space Marines or aliens as I was to Star Wars, and Legion hit. And I'm like, oh, that's it. Here we go. It's 40K, but something I can more identify with that I enjoy. And so, but in my town, that was it. You either played 40K or you played FFG games, and that was it. Yep. You couldn't get anything else. And so when I go to these big events and I see like Dust Tactics, Wild West Exodus, Arena Rex, I'm like, what? I go to these games, I'm like, I talk to the reps, I'm like, I really want to buy this and bring this home. I'm like, cool, let me sign you up. I'm like, but I can't because no one will get it. Like there's nowhere to buy it. So you're sure you can order everything online, and that's fine. But if it's hard to sell to get someone else, because I want to buy 2 armies tops and then bring it, and then somebody can go, wow, I really like this. I'll buy my own army and play with you. I'm like, cool. And so that's how you build that community, right? It sucks when you have to buy everything to get everyone to play with you. Yeah. And then they're like, well, I want to buy it right now. And I'm like, online, I guess. And like, I get it. Not every shop can carry everything, but our town was very, we used to have a GW shop here, then it closed. That's why we have like a big community for it. But that's why like getting to see all these other things is really cool to me, because I wish I knew they were there, because maybe I would have just gone to Bolt Action or something, right?
Yeah. And I think we just have an odd community as well.
Yeah,
like they're very tribal, and so it's
actually, it's and I like them all. It's just like there's a 40K night at our shop, and you only play 40K there. Right. The tables are all for them, and then we have our Star Wars night, and
that's now like Warhammer, Age of Sigmar, and X-Wing, and Legion, and what were those other guys playing there for? The other Warhammer, the board game. The one you play. Yeah.
It just kind of became like the catch-all.
Friday's the catch-all night, and it's like, no, this is Legion night, and it's like, no, it isn't. Sorry.
Yeah, it stinks. It stinks because like me as a gamer, I would hate to walk in somewhere, and if I had a buddy and I just want to go to the shop and play, and then not be able to play there. Like, so I'm usually on Friday nights. Someone comes in and they say, do you have a table? I'm like, yeah, we'll make one. We'll figure it out. We'll make sure you get to play here. We'll get a new one out. Right. Because I never want but we have so many people for like 40K that they have to have their own night. Yeah, of course. But it also stinks. Like sometimes I'd like to go and just like play Legion on a Thursday, right? Like, I think part of the problem too is a lot of these places have a staff where they play the one particular, like they play Legion. They play Legion themselves, or they do this themselves, or you know what I mean? Yeah. And then, so now the whole store is just focused on that, right? It's like, all right, man, like... I mean, that's how a lot of Magic stores survive, like the owner plays, and they want to do a store. So, like, I don't begrudge anybody, but I also do. Yeah, I begrudge everyone. I'm mad, but I wish there was either more space, so we wouldn't have to have, like, particular nights, because we just don't have that much space, or just, like, I wish we had a miniature gaming shop. That's my big thing, because we have a comic shop that sells games. And that game is 40K. So you have it's so funny because you have all these different. We have 3 basically shops in our area. One is the one that we frequent, which is more of a comic store that's begrudgingly doing miniatures now, right? And 40K and Warhammer mostly, with a little Legion sprinkled to the side. And then you have an X-Wing, but then you have that other place that's huge play areas, but the staff and the owners suck, and they like don't care, and they just
and they're more focused on like
Cards.
Yeah. Which okay, but then they have all this they did for a while have all these board games and great stuff, but then they're like in this weird location that nobody can park at. Like it's just this random place. And then you have the other place is more of like everything. Like they have board games, they have toys, but they're more toys, and it's just So it's just we're in this weird area where there's no like,
we don't have like a Just Games in Rochester
from Rochester,
or a Millennium or something where it's got like Millennium's got the thing where they're just so big, they have such a big play area, it doesn't really matter. You'll find room because unless they're like running a Grand Prix or something for like
Yu-Gi-Oh. Like we've played Legion tournaments there, and they've also had Yu-Gi-Oh or Magic or something going on as well, right?
Oh, and it's packed. Yeah. So like that's they had
but we were comfortable.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
I didn't feel uncomfortable. Like I felt it was. Yeah. It was for sure packed, but like I didn't feel like, oh no, I can't move. It was just like, oh, excuse me, dude. Like, even when we played Just Games, we had the big RPQ going, they had Magic going at those other tables, but we still had plenty of room to play.
Yep.
It was just a little cramped, but anyway, so so that's that. So Anvil 8,
super cool guys. Like the word he used the word boutique. And that makes sense, right? It's like, hey, we make a very
niche,
specialized game that has a very specific audience that would like this, and it's cool, man. Like, I could keep mentioning Cyberpunk comparison to it, but like, there's not really there's like Infinity.
It's like a weird mix between
like Shadowrun
and
like
Netrunner.
Yeah, it's cool. Like, I think it's super cool, and we're looking to get some games of it on. Yeah, eventually we'll get some when we got a lot of backlog of stuff. Like it's getting a little like, yikes about how much we got to get out.
Yeah, there's like literally in my game area in the house, there's just stacks of games. So we're like, yep, we got to play that. Yep, we got to play that. Geez. Yep, we're going to play this. Like
it's like, it's funny because it comes to the point where like I'm playing it because I just need to know how it is more than I want to. A couple of them, right? I was just like, But Anvil 8's super cool. Super nice guys. Their game is like, it plays on a 3x3. You move, like, if you check out their website, and they have they play you through a couple rounds of it, and you're changing the board. It's like dynamic terrain.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
And being able to jump around, and the factions are cool. They're all pretty like awesome looking. Overall, like, it's a game that I wish more people knew about.
Well, that's why we're here.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. I wish, because it's such a cool idea, and the buy-in's pretty low. I know I keep mentioning buy-in, but like, I'm down with a game if I can. Let's say, because the core box is like $70-$80, and you split it with a buddy, so you're 40 in, and then you maybe buy more of the faction that comes with it, or a faction you want, and then you're not even like really breaking maybe $120. And I know that is a lot of money, but also it's not, because a Legion, like, you can't really get a functioning 800-point army for $120 because you have to buy a core set.
Yeah, buy 2 core sets.
Yeah, you gotta buy 2, then you're there, and that's not even what you really may want to play. Whereas with that game, that you get everything. Like, there's every unit you can find for like in there, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah, I think and this isn't a complaint, just an observation mostly, is that I don't know that I didn't get the feel like it would scratch that like competitive itch, though. I feel like it's more of a like, okay, so the other games, the other two, Oak and Iron, and then the any of the Warlord games, that's all competitive, like they competitive in mind. Even though Oak and Iron just came out, they've already started developing OP structure. They had competitive in mind. They're like, this is going to be not just casual, but competitive. So with Ethereum, it sounds more like it's not going to be a competitive game. It's just a casual, like...
Yeah, it can be.
It can be, but I
don't
see it.
I need to play it more, because I've played it a couple times, and like you never really grasp the full game.
Yeah, that's fair.
when you give it a couple of shots, and I played it a couple of times. I'm like, each time I play, I'm like, yeah, man, I remembered why I like this game. I think it has the legs to be, is the thing, like, because it's so small, so big a thing for competitive games, that I think that make X-Wing did really well, because you only need a 3x3, your buy-in's pretty low, and the rules are pretty like.
And time to play.
Time to play is an hour and a half, right? Then that does all that. Like, again, I'll have to check out like some forums or Reddit to see if there's like a, like the meta, if
Sure.
you will. Like
I could be completely wrong. I just
no, I mean, well, like, from
in
an
my
outside look,
limited
right?
research, I was like, I don't see that, but that's okay, right? Like,
Not every game needs to be.
Not every game needs to be competitive, and that's why I was saying it's not a complaint. It's just an observation.
I need to play it a lot,
Right.
and I can give like a good. But I know the units are cool, and like I was joking. It's like they're like, yeah, when a unit dies, you pick your activations is you put them in, you take your deck of cards with each one of your units on it, and then you put how you want to activate them face down.
Yeah.
And then when one dies, it gets removed from the system, so the server has more free space, so it runs smoother, so you get to your better units faster. I'm like, as an IT guy, I understand they're not running CRM and Outlook server on the same, right? Like it's so I kind of maybe I'm a little like, I think it's interesting how well they've like kind of hit some of the like how it feels, but they even do like a pen and paper for it, which is I want to give that like an actual try of the group because that sounds cool, because it sounds like a
it's interesting. So I have like I'm like a 50-50 on it as far as my interest level, and because it's that Cyberpunk game that's coming out, the video game, I'm really interested in, right? But it's a video game, and so it's just the futuristic like interests me. But then when it was more like, oh, it's all inside a computer, I was kind of like, okay, all right, I guess. Like, so I have to play it a couple times.
So in that kind of thing, you have to think in that world that is reality,
right?
So you're just, this is where you exist now,
right? And when Aaron was explaining like the RPG to us, and he's like, I don't know, can you do that? And I'm like, no, I don't like this. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
where's my rules?
Yeah. Not that I don't like the game. Sorry, I just was like, but it's funny though, because the first time I ever played Pathfinder, we had a really good GM, and I was just like, well, I want to do this. Well, I want to do this. He's like, listen, man, there's like rules here. Like, this isn't just willy-nilly. I'm like, this is a fantasy game. And I want to be fantastic. And like, so, but I came to appreciate that, because then it's like, oh, okay, so I can work within, I have a box, I'm boxed in, of course, but like I can be creative in that box, right?
Yep.
And then I found like when games are too open, it's like not for everyone, but sometimes people struggle with that, because then they go, like if you have too many choices, you get like decision
analysis paralysis.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. So it's like the beauty of D&D and Pathfinder for me is bending and working the rules to make what I want to do happen.
Yeah.
Not breaking them, but like, hey, this thing works with this, and this ability lets me unlock this. Like, I enjoy that. But for like a more casual game, if you have somebody who hasn't played before, like to be honest, if you have someone who's brand new to pen and paper and you sit them down and you put a D&D sheet in front of them, it's like, what? Whereas like a game that's more like, well, what do you want to do? Well, I want to make a motorcycle. Like, okay, well, here, like, I gotta look at the stat sheets and everything to give you like a better thing. But I like for a more casual group who's maybe like a better first impression to a pen and paper might be a more open one, just so they can kind of like feel it.
And I feel like so we also have another video series called Recover the Supplies, which is a Star Wars RPG. We follow the FFG, soon to be another company within Asmodee. But anyways. The Edge of the Empire, really good system.
Yeah,
so
super cool.
You have the rules of the universe, right? Like I feel like, and Aaron kind of talked about this a little bit too with Anvil 8, but like, you got to have rules in the universe. Like like there's gravity, right? That's a thing. Like but I think you even need more defined rules, but you need to be open to be like, because I felt like in Pathfinder it was like, well, you can't do that. Whereas in Edge of the Empire, it's like, the GM and the players are kind of storytelling together in opposite to Pathfinder, where it's like the GM's like, he's the master, right? Like he is telling you what you can and can't do, where in the, I guess it's Genesis, right? But the Edge of the Empire system is like, well, explain like, okay, you got a triumph, which is basically like a really good success, and it's like, what does that mean, like, to you? Like, what does your character do with that?
And that's super fun. That's why I really like the Genesis system. When it first came out, I'm like, this is going to be big. I was looking at it because it's like, there's nothing worse than D&D than like, dying when you tie your shoes because you rolled a 1, right? Like that's an extreme case, but like you want to do like, you're the warrior. you're finally getting your chance to like use cleave. You paid for cleave and great cleave, so you're gonna just go through all these goblins. You need to get there, and your time to shine, right? The wizard did his thing, the rogue did his thing. You finally get to be cool, and so you're like, get your sword out, and you hit the first goblin, you cool cleave, and then you roll a critical failure on the next, then you roll another critical failure, and you throw your axe, or you hit yourself, and you're like, oh, that feels really bad.
Well,
ugh.
And sometimes Pathfinder and D&D can be very linear, where it's like, I attack this person, even though I obliterate him, nothing else happens. Where anyways, the way we play Edge of the Empire on Recover the Supplies, it's like, okay, I was so successful and like double critted or triple critted that not only did I wipe this guy out, his buddy who's standing right next to him, like when I spun around and did my move with my vibro axe, I chopped him in half too. Like,
it's more fast paced.
Yeah.
And there's I understand why people like both. Like I do, like D&D can be real crunchy.
Yeah.
And there's part of me who does really enjoy like making like a find. I don't min max so much as I play something like I want to be good with whips. You know, I'm just like, I'm going to make the best whip guy I can find. So you can do that right in D&D and have that full customization. And man, the amount of like modules you can buy at this point. I mean, D&D has and Pathfinder had the ability just to create whatever you want. Any pen and paper does, really, right? You make your own story. But man, doing that, it's a lot of time. Anyone that's ever DM'd, it's like, I got a job, I got a family. Like, it's hard for me to create engaging content, not just like, let's go through a dungeon. And so to be able to buy a module and play through that and like have like 10 more behind that, like, that's awesome. Like, I can't say enough for that. Whereas Pathfinder, Genesis systems have that too. They have modules, but not like that, the depth of the library. Right. So it is more on like both players. Like, you both want to tell the story together to make it interesting, which is cool. I like them both, I guess, is my
I'd like to see some sort of that's fine, but I'd like to see some sort of amalgamation of the both, and maybe it exists, so let us know if it does, but where it's a little linear, but then you also have some free, like, I've never felt in Pathfinder I had a lot of freedom as a character once stuff started to happen. Like, once an encounter started to happen, or once I could choose who I attacked. I could choose what spells I used, but really you couldn't affect the outside world other than that.
Nothing feels worse than like you're playing like 4 or 5 players, so getting to your turn takes a little while in combat. Yeah, and then like you attack and you miss. You're like, oh, and it goes like all around, and like everyone's doing this cool stuff, and you go to you, and you're like, you attacked, you missed.
Right. And like with Genesis, it's like, okay, I can use. Okay, I didn't hit the person, but I got like all these advantage, right? Yeah. And so I'm like, okay, well, as a group, I want to give my advantage to my next player, so he's going to get an extra die when he goes to attack. Yeah. And the Destiny system, like, I like these group systems where, okay, individually I miss, but I can help the group in another way.
Yeah, I think that's cool. So, like, I really like Genesis. I'll be interested to see what happens to that system. Yeah. I think
so there was just news, I forgot the dude's name, but the same guy who was in charge of it at FFG just got hired back at Asmodee to be in charge of it under the new child company that they're starting.
Luke Eddy had put it in a way for me, where he's like, a game's never dead if you keep playing it.
Right.
And because he just came and I'd been like, he had a Netrunner box. I'm like, oh, rip, because they just like cut it like a couple months ago. He's like, oh, I still like playing it a lot. You just that's it. And I'm like, well, you know what? Touche. You're right, man. That's correct.
You go to like Gen Con or something, and you'll see those booths with the guys that have the games that have been dead for 20 years, but people are like, I'll take a pack of that. I'll take a pack of that. And I'm like, what? And they're like, oh yeah, I still have a whole group of people that play this game. And I'm like, oh, cool. Like,
yeah, I wish I had a dedicated group who, like, look at BattleTech. So Catalyst, we kind of revived the series. BattleTech on PC is excellent if you get a chance to play it. But it's kind of coming back. Like, MechWarrior is kind of like making its relevance back in the gaming community again. And there's been people playing BattleTech forever. And like I went to Origins last year, and this guy had every model like on a wall. I was shocked because I think I know BattleTech because I'm really into it. And I go and I'm like, yeah, can I get a Vulture? And he's like, which one? And I'm like, and he was like, do you want the Mad Dog? Do you want the Vulture? Do you want this variant, this variant, this variant? I'm like,
listen, nerd.
Yeah, I was like, will you just give me a Vulture? But like that guy, like, there's such a community for this game that's not considered current, because this was before Catalyst really put it back in. That this guy has like 2 walls of just nothing but SKUs of BattleTech models. I'm just like, you're like, yeah, man, it's all done. People still love it. Yeah. And those models, to be honest, suck. Like, they don't look great. The modeling's not super great. The new Catalyst stuff looks awesome. Yeah. But like, they had that group, like that. The guy had enough business to keep going like that. I'm like, that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's truly interesting to me, and I think we're going to be exploring that in this new season of the Fifth Trooper podcast. Just all these great communities that are out there for games that maybe some of you who are listening don't know about. And I wanted to leave on this point. I think we brought this up. I want to say it was with John, but I really think, like, if you are listening to this and you're like, hey, I only play this one game, or I'm only a Legion player, what I would recommend is trying these other games, because I think you can bring something back to the game that you play. Let's say it is Legion. You're only a Legion player. You're listening to us. You're like, I'm not really interested in these other games. Give them a shot, because I think you may be able to bring a tactic or like a new thought to Legion by playing these other games, right? And you may just be able to think outside of the box coming back to Legion, because I think a game like Legion is not set, right? Like, so anything can be meta right now in Star Wars Legion. So maybe you need to venture out and see what else is out in the world, learn some new tricks and tactics, and then come back to it.
Well, I mean, it's a good point. So I wish I knew about a lot of this stuff when I played, before I bought in heavy into a couple of these games. I do love Legion, but before I bought in heavy to 40K, I wish I knew about some of these other games that were out there, right? Because I much prefer Bolt Action or one of those other games to Legion. Not Legion, 40K.
40K.
At the time, I did anyway. And I understand when people are like, hey, we kind of miss you guys talking about Legion. Like, I get it. But like, I want folks who listen to, I mean, there's probably a lot of people out there who know about all these games, and they're just like, whatever, Evan, what he's saying.
Welcome to the party. We've been here since 1990.
We'll be here before you. We'll be after you. At you. But it's stuff I wish I knew about. And because you might have a community that only plays Legion, and that's cool. And even if you don't buy into any of these games, like, we're not asking you to buy anything. We're just kind of talking about stuff, right? When we talk about games, and it's just good to know, right? Like, hey, man, like, maybe you have a friend who's like, oh, man, I really like to play this, but I don't really like Star Wars. And you're like, oh, well, there's Bolt Action. There's well, I like Wild West. Oh, there's Wild West Exodus. It's like Wild West with magic. Like, oh, that sounds cool. Like, just opening yourself up to these.
Yeah, and just giving it an opportunity.
Yeah, right. Because, like, man, every time I go to these, not everyone can go to cons.
Right.
Not everyone can go to cons. Like, they're expensive. Yep. Like, you're with hotel, travel, food, you're in $1,000 at least, probably. Easy. And, when you go to these, that's how I get exposed to a lot of the stuff, because that's just where I spend my vacation on. And I wish someone could have talked to me about it. Like, hey, man, like, and that's other stuff.
And that's why we're doing this, right? Is that we have opportunity to talk to these people. We have opportunity to go to these cons and see this stuff. And so we're going to come back and talk to you about it. And as we learn about new games, or as we meet new people, we're going to bring them back to you. And just so you know what else is out there in the world.
And playing all these games is fun, man. I get game ADD sometimes. There's been a few. I've been actually surprised how long I've stuck with X-Wing and Legion, and I'm still excited to play them. Like, man, if I can't wait for our store to open, even just get my Friday nights back so I can start playing some games.
I don't
know.
Like
my random folks.
God knows when that's going to happen. Yeah, I miss it too.
I like playing all the games, man. Like, even if I only ever get into skirmish a lot of these, like, I just buy like the starter and a couple things. And because, like, man, I can get like I said about Oak and Iron, that like my dad was like, hey, yeah, because I love my dad. We're very close, but we don't share a lot in common.
Yeah.
Like, he likes Wild West movies, World War II movies. He loves movies. I'm not really a huge movie dude, but I've watched a lot with him. But now I can be like, hey, let's play Bolt Action. This is the Band of Brothers set. We can play kind of play that out. And he's like, oh, he's like, yeah, that sounds cool. Like, they help me get a different group, because not everyone likes Star Wars. Like, to me it's a hard sell sometimes.
Yeah, and I think too, it's just good to take a break sometimes and like think about other stuff, you know, and then come back and appreciate
Never.
But then go back and play a game of Legion, be like, oh yeah, this is pretty good.
I only think about my 4 baby blue aces, rogue scouts. I need my 4 X-wings, but no, man, it's good.
All right, well, I think that's going to do it for us this week. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions or game suggestions that you want us to check out,
yes, please.
Yeah, email us or contact us on Facebook or email us at contact@thefifthtrooper.com. All right, everybody. We'll talk to you next week.
Stay red.
Join us next week for another edition of the Fifth Trooper Podcast.
This has been a Fifth Trooper production.